Well, hey YouTube, PD2 Finger here, talking about the ka2284. What's it called? Audio level battery indicator, electronic 5mm PC board, DIY part kit. Audio level indicator, power level indicator, level indicating module ka2284. These are typically $1.50 to $1. Sometimes you see them for $9. I have been down this road with this circuit a number of times, and I've failed all kinds of different ways before I got it right. So, what you want to watch out for is if you're like me and you're a goof and you're going to try to use it with 10mm LEDs, and you buy the pre-wired LEDs that already have resistors in there, it's going to be a problem. I think I blew one of those boards because it had too much of a load on it. Like, it worked at first. Maybe the LEDs were a little bit dim, and then it smoked it. It smoked the chip. Basically, when you buy this kit, it's a tiny circuit board. It's like this big, and it comes with a upright chip that's maybe, I want to say maybe 10 pins on it. I'm not sure. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 8 or 9 pins. The ka2284. And then there is a pair of electrolytic capacitors. There's a jumper on some of them. There is a 100K trimmer pot, and there is a single resistor, and then there is spots for 5 LEDs, 3 greens, a yellow, and a red. So this is dancing VU meter, lights up for your audio. So there's another video where a guy builds it and hooks it up to his headphone driver, his headphone out of a stereo or whatever it is. It's a headphone connection. I assumed it would operate on line level, and it doesn't. So what you're going to want to do is build yourself a little amplifier. There is a real basic layout for an LM386 amp, where if you type in L83, let me see, LM386 Vero, VERO, that's strip board. The second one that's coming up on mine is it says layout by M. Jones Atalgia. So a layout by M. Jones, it has the chip. There's a pair of 47 microfarad capacitors. Then there is 1, 2, 3 hoogies, what do you call them, jumpers. And for me, I wasn't so sure about if I was going to need to pad this out anymore. So what I did, rather than directly jumpering pins 1 and 8 on the chip, which that gives you maximum gain, I put an additional cut, because the way he had it, between pin 1 and 8 there's no cut, so that they're just hard shorted, and that gives you maximum gain. And I really didn't think I was going to be needing that much gain for this, so I cut in a 4.7K resistor across pins 1 and 2. And basically, if you're looking at this Vero layout, if you've looked up LM386 amp layout by M. Jones Atalgia, it's a 10 by E, which E is 5, so it's 10 by 5 Vero. I used like a 1518, like a wider Vero, and I like to do that. It gives you more room to put grounds in. I can put the connections in, and if there's a problem with that, I can always break that off and go in deeper. So typically what I'll do is mask off the right and the left with a lot of extra. But I also beefed out, I stretched it out, because as it is in this layout, he's got the capacitor C1 and C2 are sharing sockets, and I really don't like sharing sockets. So when I widened it out, I gave myself more room to move C1 and 2 over to the right a little bit. And for some reason, on the jumper that's on the left side, the 1 through 4 side of the chip, I ran that jumper all the way up to the first row. So that led to 10 or 15 minutes of troubleshooting, swapping out chips, swearing, cleaning the bottom of this thing, scratching my head, and then finally I had my wife look at it, and I started on the bottom right, and I read to her the layout while she stared at the board. And we got all the way to the last thing, and I said, okay, there's a one jumper that goes up one row between E and D and row 2, and then it goes up to B, so there's a 1 gap above it. And she goes, no, there's no 1 gap. You ran that jumper all the way up to the top row. So yeah, sometimes the simple ones are the ones that get you. So basically, the ka2284, it needs like a line driver, what you would think. So if you like the idea of a dancing bar LED, 5 LED dancing LED thing, if you're putting together some type of an amp and you want to use that, what I did was I split my signal on the input. So I have a Tom Scholz Rockman, and that puts out a mono signal that he splits to 2 channels for headphones. I tapped into that and ran that to the right and left side of a hi-fi EQ. So I got this hi-fi EQ circuit. I purchased it. It's just a circuit board EQ with external pots, and I think it cost me like $11 on eBay. Anyway, that's I think a 1054 EQ was the number you type in to find those, and it's just it's a 4-knob device. It's got balance for right and left channel, and then bass and treble, and then a level. There's no mid-range. So to tell you the truth, this is a time when I'm thinking, I'm using a modeler. I'm using a Zoom G3, which is not really guitar. It's more full range, full frequency. So why not try a full range EQ? Well, this EQ, I really don't like it. I would do way better to have something like a runoff groove tone bender. But the long and the short story of it is, jumpering my right and left channel on the input leaves me with an extra channel on the output, because this is a mono amp. So I take the right channel, and that goes into my TPA 31162 mono class D power amp. The left channel, I ran it right into that circuit, the ka2284, and I thought, well, you know what, there's a lot of gain here. I'm like distorting and boosting my signal with the Rockman, and then it's coming into this EQ that's going to boost it. That should be enough to light it up. I bet I'll even have to use the onboard trimmer and throttle it down a little bit. Well, no, that's not the case. You need another amp to boost it. So for me, I solved it with a LM386, because I don't have to worry about whatever I use hearing it. It's going just to power an LED. I'm not going to hear that, because I really don't like using LM386. They don't sound good to me. They're always distorted. Anyway, that's how I got it working and working good. I was able to tune it into a respectable range of operation by applying a 4.7K resistor across pins 1 and 8 of the LM386 to set the gain level to a lower gain. And then as far as the onboard trimmer, that's set at less than a quarter turn. It's kind of just cracked open. Because like I said, you really don't need much. It's a shame that they're, they don't tell you anything. There's nothing. Nothing. So I thought maybe this would be helpful. And like I said, if you were gonna, if I was gonna do this again, more than likely what I would do is build an op-amp signal splitter, and right at the input have a buffer or a signal splitter. It's always good to have a buffer on the input, and then split the signal there and send one channel over to LM386 amp, and then going into the ka2284. The other side of the signal, because I said, I build a splitter, so that would have two channels. The other channel, one channel obviously going to the LM386, going to the KA22. The other channel would go to a runoff groove tone mender, which I really like that EQ. It's got a toggle switch for the high frequencies, but that's the only strike against it. And it's got a gain knob. But that for guitar, that's a I have to say it's a great circuit, and it works well for clean and distorted tones. That's the best EQ out of all the playing around that I've done, ordering EQs off of eBay, hi-fi EQs. And then there's the bass guitar harness EQ you can get. Those are actually good. They're better. They're way better than using, like if you're putting an amp together and you don't want to go through the process of building your own EQ, look up bass guitar harness, and you'll think, oh, it's for bass, it's not for guitar, it's going to be all out of whack. Well, they're not. Their frequencies are really good. They're not as good as the runoff groove tone mender. That's the best. But yeah, that's how I would do it if I was going to rebuild this amp. And then of course, out of the runoff groove tone mender, right into the TPA 3116 D2. My wife's just falling asleep, so she's just beginning to the plethora of noises that she produces as she slumbers is amazing. Yeah. The new amp that I'm building over at Runoff Groove, they have these JFET based preamps they're clones of some like kind of famous amplifiers, like a Fender Bassman, a Marshall Plexi, a Marshall Super Bass, a Sun amplifier. So I got some stuff coming. I'm waiting on daughter boards for SMT JFETs, and then I'm gonna finish that project up. I've got all the resistors populated on the board, and some more stuff came in today. But somehow, when I ordered over at Pedal PCB, I ordered like X amount of SMT JFETs, and I thought I ordered the same amount daughter boards. Well, I got one, a single. So yeah, here's what I have populated so far on that. So I got to finish that up. But that's the preamp Vero. So the rest of those parts came in today, the stuff that I had ordered from Tata. But I still don't have the daughter boards. which are coming from China via eBay. And then I've got the power amp chip, the board, which is a TPA 3116D2. As I said, that's the $5 100-watt mono Class D amp board. And people always react like, oh, those can't be any good, they're only $5. Well, the one model, it's like a green PCB. It doesn't have a volume knob on it. It has a single trimmer, and they're usually like 556 or 490. You can get them for now. Those ones I've built those in quite a few amps and never had a problem with them. So, but yeah, this discussion is supposed to be about the ka2284. If you want to be a stickler and you really hate the LM386, look into a 7052A. That would be the other amp I would really recommend. The reason that I went with the LM386 is because I'm not going to hear it, and I've got a surplus of those chips, whereas the 7052A I don't have a surplus of. So, all right, I got to take a leak. Peace.